Noah Carter had always believed in the power of humility. Despite his wealth earned through years of determined work in the food and hospitality industry, he maintained a grounded perspective. Most people in high society considered Noah an outlier. He rarely flaunted his money, avoided flashy parties, and preferred to focus on building successful businesses that treated employees like family. It was early afternoon when he exited Urban Slice Pizza, a popular chain he secretly owned. He wore a simple black polo shirt, faded jeans, and a cap that bore the restaurant's logo. Anyone watching would think he was merely another employee clocking in or out. In reality, Noah was the majority shareholder. Urban Slice's success was largely due to his exacting standards, from recipe quality to the way employees were trained and treated. His purpose today was unusual. He had heard rumors about a struggling upscale restaurant called Sinclair's Fine Dining. On paper, it had everything a high-class establishment needed: prime location, luxurious interior design, and a pedigree name in the culinary world. Yet it was on the brink of failure due to plummeting customer satisfaction. Noah's first instinct was to investigate before deciding if it was worth his investment. But rather than stroll in as a wealthy benefactor, he chose his usual method, going undercover as a pizza delivery driver to see the true nature of its staff and clientele. It was a strategy he had employed more than once, always with enlightening results. Noah's friend and business partner, Mark Chin, had teased him that morning about it. Still pretending to be one of the delivery guys? Mark had asked with a raised eyebrow. Noah responded with a laugh. It's the best way to see what people are really like. A pizza delivery guy is practically invisible. People show their true colors when they think you're beneath them. Mark shrugged, smiling. Well, don't let them walk all over you. Noah had merely grinned. He didn't mind. He thrived on seeing human nature unfiltered. Climbing into a modest car, one of the pizza chain's delivery vehicles, Noah set off towards Sinclair's. A large order had come in for a private party, and he was determined to deliver it personally. As he drove, he rehearsed his plan in his head. Observe. Take notes. Decide if the restaurant deserved saving, or if its toxic culture would only drain his resources. Today was only the first step. It would be the first of many visits, but it could very well decide the fate of Sinclair's Fine Dining. He pulled up to the restaurant's rear entrance, armed with 3 large pizza boxes. Let's see how they treat the help, he whispered, stepping out of the car. Little did they know that the help held their financial future in his hands. Inside Sinclair's Fine Dining, a small cluster of staff hurried about, preparing for the afternoon crowd. The grand chandeliers sparkled under the lighting and the marble floors shone. At first glance, the restaurant looked every bit as glamorous as its reputation suggested. Yet behind the scenes, chaos lurked. Finances were tight, morale was low, and the longtime manager had grown increasingly bitter as profits dipped. Noah pushed open the door to the kitchen, carefully balancing the pizza boxes. A young hostess named Julia spotted him and rolled her eyes. "Why are you coming in through the kitchen entrance?" she snapped, hands on her hips. "This is a fine dining establishment, not a fast food joint." He gave her a small, polite smile. "I was directed to deliver through the back. We got a call for 3 large pizzas, extra toppings. Something about a private luncheon in one of the side rooms." Julia sniffed. "Yes, that's for Ms. Ava Sinclair and her friends. Take it over to the side lounge." She motioned toward a wide corridor. "And be quick about it. Nobody likes cold pizza." Noah simply nodded. Understood. He turned on his heel, making his way through the corridor while mentally noting Julia's dismissive attitude. As he passed a line cook, he overheard a snicker. Sinclair's is so desperate they're ordering pizza from outside. How far we've fallen." Noah kept walking, ignoring the gossip. His mind was already assessing the environment. Staff tension, a fundamental snobbery toward anything not deemed high class, and a certain level of disarray that suggested poor leadership. This was exactly what he needed to see. He finally located the side lounge. The doors were slightly ajar. He pushed them open carefully, balancing the boxes. Inside, he saw a group of well-dressed women chatting and sipping champagne. They barely glanced at him, save for one, a beautiful brunette with an air of quiet kindness. She noticed him struggling and opened the door wider. "Thank you," Noah said politely. She gave him a slight smile. "Don't mention it." Noah placed the pizzas on a table. "That'll be $35, he said softly, conscious of the group's stares. The brunette woman moved to retrieve her wallet, but another voice cut through the air like a whip. $35 for pizza? A tall blonde with impeccable makeup stared at him in disbelief. "You must be joking." A hush fell in the room. Noah could guess who this was without an introduction. Ava Sinclair, the owner's spoiled daughter. The little group parted like the Red Sea as she strode forward, a smirk dancing on her lips. Ava Sinclair cast a scrutinizing look at Noah from head to toe. He noted her designer dress, the glimmer of diamonds around her neck, and the faint scent of expensive perfume. Everything about her screamed wealth and privilege. "You're telling me my father ordered pizza for my luncheon?" She gave a little laugh, turning to her friends. "This is borderline tragic. And how cheap must it be to get pizza from some random joint?" Noah hid his irritation under a mask of polite calm. "Your father's assistant placed the order." "Just doing my job, ma'am." Ava quirked an eyebrow. "And how are you so sure it was for me?" "Because the name on the order was Miss Sinclair," he replied evenly. Ava sighed, as though the weight of the world was on her shoulders. She opened a clutch purse and pulled out a few coins, literal loose change, which she tossed onto the pizza box. "Here's your tip," she said dismissively. "But a piece of advice, maybe find a better career path before you end up, well, nowhere." One of her friends giggled, sipping champagne as she eyed Noah like he was an exotic animal. The brunette who had helped open the door, however, stepped forward. "That's enough, Ava," she said firmly, then turned to Noah and placed a bill in his hand discreetly. "I'm sorry about her," she whispered. Noah glanced down and saw it was a crisp $20 bill. He inclined his head in gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered back, meeting her sympathetic gaze. She gave a small, apologetic shrug, as if to say she wished things were different. Turning back to Ava, the brunette tried to diffuse the tension. "I'll cover the rest of the lunch bill, Ava. Your father did order it, after all." Ava crossed her arms. "Emily, why are you always defending charity cases?" She tapped her stilettos impatiently on the polished floor. "Don't waste your money on him. Guys like that need to learn to fend for themselves. Survival of the fittest, right?" Emily looked mortified. "That's not." Noah offered a calm smile, though inside, anger and disappointment simmered. He collected the change Ava had tossed. "Thank you for your business. I hope you enjoy the pizzas," he said, forcing courtesy into each word. As he stepped toward the door, Ava called out after him. "Don't be late for your next delivery, pizza boy. I'd hate for you to lose your job. It must be hard finding work when you have no talents." The other girls chuckled, except Emily, who glared at Ava in disapproval. Noah felt the sting of the insult, but he reminded himself that he was here to observe. This was more than enough to confirm that something was rotten at Sinclair's fine dining, starting with the daughter who had been handed everything on a silver platter. He turned back and offered a polite nod to Emily. "Thank you again." She nodded, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "I'm really sorry," she mouthed. Noah stepped into the corridor, mentally jotting down his impressions. Ava Sinclair was the sort of person who could do real damage to a restaurant's reputation. The question was whether the business under new ownership could be steered in a better direction, or if it was doomed by arrogance beyond repair. That evening, Noah returned for another delivery to Sinclair's, which was unusual. The same address, just a few hours later. He almost declined the order, but curiosity got the better of him. He needed more insight into the restaurant's culture. When he arrived, the place was packed. Ava had apparently invited a group of influencer friends for a networking dinner, complete with cameras streaming on social media. Noah spotted ring lights and phones held up by various people capturing every moment. As he stepped into the main dining area, one of Ava's friends let out a loud, mocking laugh. "Oh my gosh, it's the same pizza guy." The crowd turned and a hush descended. Then the hush broke into muffled snickers. "Ava, dressed in another elegant gown, sipped from a champagne flute. Spotting Noah, her lips curled into a triumphant smirk. She glanced at her phone, which was streaming a live feed, and announced to her audience, "Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the world's saddest pizza boy." Her words hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Her friends cackled, phones zeroed in on Noah's face. For a split second, he considered dropping the pizzas and storming out. But he refused to stoop to their level or give them the satisfaction of seeing him flustered. Calmly, he walked up to the table and set the boxes down. "That'll be $40, he said. His voice carried a certain steel that had not been present earlier. Ava feigned shock. $40? My, the prices are going up. Are you sure you're not inflating them just because you see how wealthy we are?" She giggled, turning to her live stream audience. "Guys, should I pay him in loose coins again? Or maybe worthless coupons?" There was a crescendo of laughter. Emily, who was also there, stood up abruptly. "Ava, stop this. It's not funny. You're humiliating someone who's just doing his job." Ava's friend patted Emily's arm. "Don't be such a killjoy," she said dismissively. "It's just a joke." Noah watched this unfold with a cold detachment. He realized that while Emily was genuinely kind, most of the people here followed Ava's lead. Still, he kept his composure. "Ma'am," he directed toward Ava, "the restaurant manager informed us to bring these pizzas for your party. If there's an issue with the cost." "There's no issue," Ava said, rummaging through her designer handbag with exaggerated slowness. She produced a handful of crumpled bills, tossing them onto the table. "Keep the change, or whatever. Like I told you earlier, maybe find a better career path. I bet you're used to being ridiculed if this is your daily gig." Noah felt a faint tremor of anger. But he swallowed it, nodding curtly. "Have a good evening." As he turned to leave, one of the influencers snapped a photo, phone camera flashing. "Wave bye-bye, pizza man," she cooed. The group erupted in laughter again. Noah left the dining area, expression grim, making his way toward the exit. Just as he neared the door, he bumped into the restaurant manager, a stern-faced man in a suit. The manager looked at Noah with open contempt. "You're causing quite a scene," he hissed. "We cater to a certain class of customers here. Next time, use the back entrance. People like you don't belong in the front of the house." Noah exhaled slowly. "Understood," he said, making a mental note of yet another strike against Sinclair's. He stepped out, eyes blazing with a silent vow. They had no idea who they were insulting. Back in his car, Noah let out a long sigh. On one hand, the behavior he'd witnessed was disheartening. On the other, it crystallized his decision. If he chose to invest in Sinclair's, there would need to be massive restructuring. The arrogance he had encountered, from the hostess to the manager to Ava herself, was a symptom of deeper rot. He pulled out his phone and dialed Mark Chin. His friend picked up on the second ring. "Hey, how's the undercover mission going?" Mark asked, tone light. Noah forced a chuckle. "Worse than expected, actually. I've met the owner's daughter. She might be the most entitled person I've ever encountered." Mark let out a low whistle. "Yikes. So, are you pulling out of the deal?" A part of Noah wanted to say yes. But a deeper, more stubborn part of him felt a surge of determination. "No," he said softly. "I think I need to see this through. The restaurant could still be turned around. It's mostly the attitudes that need changing." Mark paused. "You sure you want to handle that headache?" Noah rubbed the bridge of his nose. "I'll make the final call after a few more visits. But let's just say I'm not very impressed. They have no idea who they're messing with." Mark laughed. "Can't wait for the day you reveal you're the investor. That'll be priceless." Hanging up, Noah stared at Sinclair's neon sign glowing in the distance. He mulled over what had happened inside. The manager's words echoed in his mind. "People like you don't belong here." Little did they know that the man they had dismissed as a lowly pizza delivery boy was actually the key to their survival. He intended to keep observing. If there was a chance to salvage the place and teach certain people a lesson in humility, he would take it. Meanwhile, in an office on the second floor of Sinclair's fine dining, Richard Sinclair sat hunched over a pile of documents. He was a proud man in his early 50s, with salt and pepper hair and a refined manner. Yet the weight of impending bankruptcy had worn him down. The restaurant had been a profitable venture years ago when it first opened, but competition, mismanagement, and changing customer preferences had chipped away at its fortunes. He glanced at the clock on the wall. His contact, an influential investor, was due in less than a week to discuss a potential buyout or infusion of capital. Richard felt as if he were at the edge of a cliff, waiting for a gust of wind to determine if he fell or soared. A tap sounded on the office door. It was the manager, the same one who had scolded Noah. "Sir, we need to talk about the finances for next month. There's simply not enough to cover the overhead without an influx of cash." Richard sighed. "I'm aware. We just have to hold out until my meeting with Mr. Carter." The manager nodded gravely. "If this deal doesn't go through, sir, we may have to close down by the end of the quarter." Richard closed his eyes, pressing his fingers to his temples. "I know," he said. "Let's hope this investor is our saving grace." Unbeknownst to both men, that same saving grace had already been inside their doors, disguised as a pizza delivery driver. At that moment, Richard had no idea how fate was about to flip his life upside down. The next morning, Ava woke up feeling triumphant. She checked her phone, expecting to see streams of comments laughing at her latest live feed. Instead, she found something very different. Hundreds, no, thousands of angry messages calling her out for bullying. Hashtags like #RespectTheHustle were trending. People were sharing clips of her mocking the pizza delivery guy, condemning her behavior. She scrolled through social media in shock. At Foodie Nation, money can't buy class. Disgusted by Ava Sinclair's treatment of a working man. #RespectTheHustle. At Waitress Life, this is why some restaurants fail. No respect for the people who keep them going. #Sinclair's fine dining #boycott. At Chef in the City, good riddance if Sinclair's goes under. Arrogance like that deserves no sympathy. Ava stared at the screen, her heart racing. She had always courted attention, but never expected such a negative backlash. Her phone buzzed incessantly with notifications, and the number of hateful comments climbed by the minute. Panicking, she called Emily. "Did you see what they're saying about me?" Ava cried into the phone. "They're calling me a spoiled princess and saying I need to learn respect." Emily's voice was calm but firm. "Ava, you put that video out there. What did you think would happen? People respect hard work, and you came across as a bully." "I wasn't bullying him," Ava insisted, though her voice wavered. "I was just messing around." Emily let out a heavy sigh. "You should apologize, publicly. Otherwise, you'll only make it worse." Ava clung to her pride. "Never. People will forget about this in a week." But even as she said the words, she felt a twist of doubt in her gut. Public opinion was powerful and fickle. If the outrage continued, it could jeopardize the restaurant's already precarious reputation. For the first time in her life, Ava felt the weight of consequences bearing down on her. Emily felt compelled to act. That afternoon, she decided to track down the pizza delivery guy, whom she now knew was named Noah Carter, thanks to a slip of the tongue she overheard from the Urban Slice staff. She had gleaned that he was more than just a regular employee, though she wasn't sure how high he ranked. All she knew was that he carried himself with a quiet confidence that didn't match the average minimum wage worker. She arrived at Urban Slice Pizza's main branch, stepping inside a bustling lobby filled with the aroma of fresh dough and tomato sauce. Approaching the front counter, she asked the cashier if Noah was around. "He's actually in the back," the cashier replied. "Are you a friend?" I hope so," Emily said with a nervous smile. Moments later, Noah emerged, still wearing his black polo shirt. He recognized Emily immediately, a flicker of surprise crossing his features. "Emily? Everything okay?" She offered a small smile. "I came to apologize for the way Ava treated you, and how her video went viral. It was completely uncalled for. I just feel terrible." Noah studied her face for a moment. She seemed genuine. "You don't have to apologize for someone else's behavior," he replied. "But I appreciate you coming all the same." Emily glanced around, then leaned in, lowering her voice. I overheard you talking on the phone the other day. Something about an investment meeting, and you didn't sound like any ordinary employee. What's going on? Noah considered how to respond. He hadn't planned on revealing his identity just yet, but Emily's sincerity touched him. He chose his words carefully. Let's just say I have a certain level of responsibility in this business. He paused, choosing not to disclose everything at once. I wanted to see the real atmosphere at Sinclair's before making a decision. Emily's eyes widened. So you're the investor my friend's father has been waiting for? Something like that, Noah admitted, a half smile on his lips. She nearly gasped. Ava is going to flip when she realizes who you really are. Noah's expression turned serious. This isn't just about teaching her a lesson. The restaurant is in real trouble. I need to decide if it can be saved, if the staff is worth saving. Emily chewed her lip, looking conflicted. For what it's worth, not everyone there is terrible. But the culture is toxic, especially with Ava's behavior. Noah nodded. Understood. I'm still gathering information. Thank you for letting me know what's really going on. Emily smiled hesitantly. So you don't mind if I keep your secret? He returned her smile. I'd appreciate it if you did. Together, they stepped away from the counter, forging an unspoken alliance. Noah sensed in Emily an ally who genuinely cared, not just about him, but about doing what was right. And Emily, for her part, felt a flutter of excitement at the prospect of seeing Ava's face when the truth finally came out. 2 days later, Sinclair's fine dining buzzed with a frenetic energy. Richard Sinclair had received word that a high-profile VIP was set to dine there that evening. The details were vague, no name, just instructions that a table be prepared for a party of 4, with the best service possible. The staff sprinted through the dining room, adjusting table settings, polishing cutlery, and triple-checking the wine list. Overhead, the crystal chandeliers sparkled, and the hum of anticipation filled the space. Ava, still reeling from the social media backlash, saw this as an opportunity for redemption. I'll handle the VIP, she told her father in a firm voice. I can charm them, get them to post something positive about the restaurant. It might help counteract the negativity online. Her father eyed her with hesitation. Ava, you've made some pretty big mistakes lately. Are you sure you can handle this? She lifted her chin. I'm not going to sit around and do nothing. This is our best chance at good publicity right now. Reluctantly, Richard agreed. Fine, but please, try to keep any personal drama out of this. We need a glowing review. That evening, the restaurant was immaculate. A sumptuous floral arrangement adorned the centerpiece table set aside for the VIP. Ava wore her most elegant dress, practicing her polished smile in the reflection of a polished silver tray. She was determined to shine, to prove she wasn't just a spoiled brat. As the clock struck 7, a tall figure in a perfectly tailored suit stepped through the entrance, flanked by 3 associates. Ava's pulse quickened. He was handsome, confident, and looked every inch like an important investor or celebrity. There was something oddly familiar about him, though she couldn't place it. Good evening, Ava said with a dazzling smile. Welcome to Sinclair's Fine Dining. My name is Ava. Allow me to escort you to your table. The man looked at her, his eyes revealing a glint of recognition. Ava's smile faltered slightly. Why did he seem so familiar? As Ava led the guests to the VIP table, several servers scrambled to bring out the amuse-bouches. The manager hovered nearby, eager to please. Richard Sinclair stood in the background, watching anxiously. The moment the VIP settled into his seat, Ava went into hostess mode, listing the night's specials with a poised, rehearsed flourish. Then, with a confident, almost amused expression, the VIP spoke. Actually, let's cut to the chase. I'm here on behalf of a potential investment group. He paused, letting the statement sink in. My name is Noah Carter. Ava frowned, the name tugging at her memory. Before she could ask anything, Noah added, I believe you know me better as the pizza delivery guy from Urban Slice. A stunned silence ensued, punctuated by the sound of a server nearly dropping a tray of water glasses. Ava's eyes widened in shock, her mind racing back to every insult she had thrown his way. The manager's face turned a deep shade of crimson. Richard Sinclair stepped forward, confusion etched across his features. "What did you say your name was, young man?" he asked, clearing his throat. Noah pulled up a seat. "Noah Carter, CEO and majority shareholder of Urban Slice Pizza, and your potential lifeline for saving Sinclair's from bankruptcy." Ava's heart thundered in her chest. She felt the blood drain from her face, a sinking sensation in her stomach. The man she had publicly ridiculed, the one she had dubbed the world's saddest pizza boy, was actually a multi-millionaire who could make or break her family's business. For a moment, the room seemed to freeze. The staff, sensing the tension, stared from a distance, unsure whether to move or stay put. Noah locked eyes with Ava, recalling the disdain and mockery in her gaze. Now, the tables had turned. He stood, buttoning his suit jacket. "Allow me to clarify," he said, projecting his voice just enough that everyone nearby could hear. "I'm not just a pizza guy. I started Urban Slice years ago, grew it from one small shop to a nationwide chain. In recent months, I've been looking to expand further, specifically into fine dining. Sinclair's was on my radar because of its history and reputation." Ava swallowed, struggling to find words. Her father approached, extending a shaking hand. "Mr. Carter, I had no idea you were. That is to say, we didn't expect." Noah accepted his hand politely, but his expression remained measured. "You expected me to show up in a designer suit, not a delivery uniform." "I understand." Richard's face burned with embarrassment. Ava hovered at her father's shoulder, trying to muster the courage to speak. Her mouth went dry as she remembered how she'd ridiculed Noah just days before. Noah continued, addressing the small group that had formed. "I've seen enough. The question now is whether your establishment can be salvaged. If I invest, I'll be your new boss. I'll own everything, including the power to make significant changes." Ava's voice finally emerged, shaky but audible. "Noah, Mr. Carter, I didn't realize." He leveled her with a calm, piercing stare. "You didn't realize who I was, so you assumed you could treat me like dirt." A hush fell again, thick with tension. Ava felt tears of humiliation threaten, but she blinked them back. She wanted to say something, anything, that would fix this. But she was at a loss for words. Richard Sinclair sensed the gravity of the situation. His daughter had insulted the one man who could save their family legacy. Desperate to salvage the deal, he squared his shoulders and spoke as humbly as he could. "Mr. Carter, I deeply apologize for any disrespect you faced at my restaurant. We were unaware of your position, but that's no excuse for such behavior." He shot Ava a pointed glance. "Please, we're in a precarious situation financially. We've been searching for an investor to help restructure and rebrand. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this right." Noah studied him, then scanned the faces of the staff hovering in the background. He recalled every slight from the hostess who sneered at him, the manager who told him to use the back entrance, and the condescending remarks from Ava's circle of friends. But he also remembered Emily's kindness and a few staff members who had shown no malice. "I appreciate your sincerity, Mr. Sinclair," Noah said. "But if I'm stepping in, I won't tolerate arrogance or disrespect toward any customer or employee." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "I will clean house if necessary." Richard nodded eagerly. "Of course. Whatever you say." Ava bit her lip, hands trembling. She had never seen her father, so often proud and unbending, reduced to this state. A pang of guilt gnawed at her. Suddenly, her actions carried real consequences, and it wasn't just her reputation on the line, but her father's entire livelihood. Desperation mingled with fear in Ava's chest. As the staff dispersed to give them space, she gently tugged on Noah's sleeve. "May I speak with you privately?" Noah observed her warily but nodded. They stepped aside to a quiet corner near the restaurant's grand piano. Ava took a slow breath, searching for the right words. "We got off on the wrong foot," she began, offering him a sweet, coquettish smile. "Look, I'm sorry if I offended you. But these things happen, right? People joke around. Maybe they cross a line, and we can just start over." Noah cocked an eyebrow. "Start over." Ava leaned closer, lowering her voice. I'm saying we could have a fresh beginning. You're obviously a powerful man. Maybe if we get to know each other better, we can work past this misunderstanding. Noah almost laughed out loud. He recognized the flirtatious undertones and the manipulative pivot from hostility to charm. He'd seen it before, people who realized too late that they had insulted someone important. The abrupt shift in her attitude was almost comical. I don't date people who mock hard work, Noah said plainly, stepping back to maintain distance. It's not a misunderstanding when you publicly humiliate someone who's done nothing but deliver a pizza. Ava's face grew hot with a mix of shame and anger. She was used to men falling over themselves to please her. This rejection stung, and she wasn't sure how to handle it. Well, she murmured, dropping her gaze, that's your choice. Noah nodded. Yes, it is. But I'm not here to date anyone. I'm here to see if your family's restaurant is worth saving. The very next day, Noah met with Richard Sinclair and the manager to outline the reorganization plan. First, the manager who berated me is fired. Effective immediately, Noah said in a measured tone. This restaurant needs new leadership that respects every patron and employee. The manager's face paled as security escorted him out. A hush swept through the staff, who watched in stunned silence. Then Noah turned to Ava. As for you, if you want to remain here, you'll start at the bottom. You'll work as a waitress for minimum wage, and you'll learn the basics of customer service. Ava's jaw dropped. You can't be serious. Very serious, Noah countered. It's this or leave. If you can't handle waiting tables, then you have no place in this restaurant. Richard opened his mouth to protest, but thought better of it. He knew they needed Noah more than ever, and if letting his daughter learn humility was part of the deal, so be it. Ava swallowed her pride. Fine, she mumbled. I'll do it. Among the changes Noah instituted, he also promoted those who showed promise and kindness. Emily, who had consistently proven her empathy and respect for all, was offered a high-paying job coordinating Urban Slice's corporate partnerships. She gasped when Noah made the offer. Are you sure? She asked, eyes wide. You demonstrated integrity, Noah explained. In a world where people like to step on those they believe are beneath them, you stood up for a stranger. That's exactly the type of person I want by my side. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Emily accepted. Ava watched from the sidelines, her new waitress uniform feeling tighter by the second. She realized Emily's simple gesture of kindness had changed her friend's entire life trajectory. Ava's first day waiting tables was a rude awakening. She stumbled, spilling drinks, struggled to memorize the menu, and endured the impatience of customers. The humiliations she had dished out suddenly reared up in her face. Older servers snickered. Welcome to the real world, princess. By the end of her shift, Ava's feet ached and her pride was in tatters. She collapsed in the break room, her spotless nails now chipped from hours of bussing dishes. Still, a small part of her admitted this was the first time in her life she had to truly work. Oddly enough, it felt oddly grounding, even if it hurt. A local news outlet got wind of Noah Carter's takeover, and soon headlines declared, Pizza Tycoon revealed as secret investor at Sinclair's fine dining. The same individuals who had laughed at the viral video of the sad pizza boy now praised him. The internet buzzed with new respect. At City Biz Daily, Noah Carter invests in failing Sinclair's after humiliating encounter. #rags to riches. At Social Media Star, he was delivering pizza to check their character. Absolutely brilliant. Public sentiment shifted overnight. Customers flocked to Sinclair's, either out of curiosity or genuine support for the underdog story. Ironically, the restaurant became more popular in scandal than it had ever been in prestige. Late one evening, Ava finally cornered Noah in the now quiet dining area. She looked different, humble, worn out from days of labor, but also sincere. I know an apology won't fix what I did, but I want to say it anyway. I'm truly sorry for how I treated you. Noah regarded her in silence for a moment. Apology accepted, he said simply. But forgiveness doesn't erase actions. If you're serious about changing, it won't happen overnight. She nodded, tears pooling in her eyes. I understand. I still want to prove I'm not a lost cause. Noah inclined his head. Then keep working. Earn your place here. Respect the staff, learn from the ground up. If you can do that, maybe you'll discover something more meaningful than just inheriting a title. Under Noah's leadership, significant renovations took place, both in the decor and the staff culture. He retrained employees to emphasize respect and customer care. New menu items were introduced, collaborating with Urban Slice for gourmet pizza-inspired dishes alongside fine dining cuisine. The grand reopening was a spectacular affair. Influencers, celebrities, and curious locals flocked to Sinclair's, which now boasted a chic yet welcoming atmosphere. Emily played a key role in the marketing campaign, leveraging her new position to highlight the restaurant's fresh start. Richard Sinclair publicly thanked Noah for saving his family's legacy. I was blind to the issues here, he admitted in front of the crowd. But Mr. Carter's insight, paired with a healthy dose of humility, has turned us around. A few weeks later, late on a Friday night, Noah stepped outside Sinclair's to take in the cool air. Business was booming, and the once desolate restaurant now bustled with happy diners. Ava was serving tables diligently, and while she still struggled, she was gradually earning back the staff's respect. As Noah walked toward his car, he noticed a young man rushing past on a bicycle, a pizza bag slung over his shoulder. The delivery guy nearly collided with him. Flustered, the youth apologized profusely, explaining he was new on the job and overwhelmed with orders. Noah could see the same spark of determination he once had. Smiling, Noah reached into his wallet and handed the delivery guy a crisp stack of bills, $10,000 in total. The young man's jaw dropped in shock. "Sir, I can't accept this." Noah patted him on the shoulder. "You can, and you will. Because respect starts at the bottom, and you deserve a chance to succeed without being looked down on." Word of the generous tip quickly spread online. Within hours, social media exploded again, hailing Noah Carter as the kind of businessman the world sorely needed, one who never forgot what it was like to be underestimated. Meanwhile, inside Sinclair's, Emily oversaw final checks, ensuring every customer left with a smile. Ava took an order with newfound humility, scurrying to the kitchen to fulfill it. Richard Sinclair looked around with quiet gratitude, realizing that everything he'd feared losing had been saved and improved by a man he once dismissed as just another pizza delivery boy. In the end, Noah Carter walked away with more than a successful investment. He had shown everyone that true worth isn't measured by wealth or status, but by how you treat others, even those you think are beneath you. And the world, watching this story unfold, couldn't help but cheer for the billionaire in disguise who reminded them all what it meant to value dignity and hard work. The end.